After careful reflection, I have concluded that the very high threshold required for the invocation of the Act was met.
A decision that will remain contentious as Public Order Emergency Commissioner Paul Rouleau says the federal government was justified in invoking the Emergencies Act to disperse anti-COVID vaccine mandate protests last year. The 1,000-page decision, the first of its kind in response to protests never seen before in our country.
Cabinet had reasonable grounds to believe that there existed a national emergency arising from threats to the security of Canada that necessitated the taking of special temporary measures. I do not come to this conclusion easily, as I do not consider the factual basis for it to be overwhelming. Reasonable and informed people could reach a different conclusion than the one I have arrived at.
Rouleau says he believes most protesters demonstrated peacefully, but accepts that the discovery of weapons at the Coutts border blockade became a concrete example to Cabinet of the risk that the protests were escalating. The commission also found that police and governments failed to properly communicate with each other, with themselves, and with the public. By the end of the occupation, Cabinet had no reason to believe police had any plan going forward.
Had police forces and governments better anticipated and prepared for the extent of political and social discontent exacerbated by COVID-19 pandemic, particularly in the environment of misinformation and disinformation so prevalent today, and had they collaborated more effectively, there could have been a different response to this unprecedented situation. It's likely that such preparation could have avoided the necessity of invoking the Emergencies Act.
Rouleau also agreed with the federal government's belief that the Emergencies Act doesn't require CSIS to determine that a public safety risk exists. This became relevant during commission hearings as the Emergencies Act refers to the CSIS Act to define a public order emergency. Rouleau says the acts are different laws with different purposes and different parties, but he added that while some aspects of the act's enforcement were effective, others were lacking.
These included important aspects of the Emergency Economic Measures Order, such as the absence of any discretion related to the freezing of accounts or assets, and the failure to provide a clear way for individuals to have their assets unfrozen once they were no longer engaged in illegal conduct.
In Ottawa, Xiao Lili, City News.